Hi, good afternoon and welcome to Budget Model Railways. So back to something a little bit different today, which is O-Gauge. I did a quick video a while ago and this really is an update. And some of you that have been following us for a very long while will realise that we're up in the loft again. So this is where numerous versions of the Double O original layout were, none of which really worked, and we hit environmental problems up here. As always, stick with us today. I'm going to talk quite a bit about Double O because I've got things to say about rolling stock, coaches, locos, and all sorts of things. So it is worth staying with us. So I'll reiterate a little bit that I spoke about when I first did the O-Gauge thing, which is I had an interest in doing O-Gauge. I was quite tempted by the locos, which are relatively cheap, a couple of £100, and obviously you get an awful lot of loco for your money. The things putting me off was basically that even second-hand wagons are £40, new ones are 40 or 50, and you need about 10 wagons. So there's about 400 quid's worth of wagons just to do a shunting layout. And the track alone was going to be another 200 because, again, it's very difficult to get second-hand. Pico track's lovely, but it'll be another 200 quid. So I was looking at the thick end of about £800 just to run an Inglenook O-Gauge shunting layout, which obviously is way, way beyond what we do budget-wise. So I had a little bit of a look around and I've managed to do it all for substantially less. So locomotives, have a look around for these. Atlas, O-Gauge, weigh a ton because if I can get the body off, no, it doesn't want to cut. Yeah, that is a solid weight. That is a solid weight. So they weigh a ton, which is what you want in O-Gauge. Nice little 060. Pick that up for 35 quid, including postage on eBay. In fact, I got another one which I'm probably going to sell for 50. So they're very good and they're very good runners. I'll just try and show you. I will need to take that off. Now, I haven't cleaned this track or anything for a while, so you have to bear with me. But, I say the track needs a good clean. That's the track, not the loco. Now, they are quite noisy. But they do run over the points, and I'll come to the points in a minute. It's noisy because they're heavy. It is on cork, but underneath is hollow, and I need to sound insulate underneath. But that's quite a nice loco. And very, very cheap. 10% of what, a third of what new ones are. And then, of course, there's the classic Lima diesel shunter. Now, these are interesting. I, again, paid 30 odd quid for that. I certainly wouldn't pay the 50 or 60 that some people are asking for, but a nice looking loco. Mine, as nearly all of them are, is missing its weights, and I've had to add quite a lot of weight using the kind of weights you can get on eBay inside, and I'm going to add substantially more. However, that again is quite a nice runner. If I do need to clean the track. Yeah, I needed to clean the track. But not quite as noisy and quite a nice runner. So those give me two locos. Now, I'm not pretending they're as smooth as the newer ones, but they're a fraction of the cost. I may paint that one up, I may weather it. Now, what I've done with all of these, because the other thing that I came across was couplings, because obviously the couplings that come with the Lima wagons and locos are pretty awful. I couldn't actually work out how to uncouple them. So what I've gone for is HO couplings, European, these. Now, I originally had some Joof ones, and then I also had a box full of old HO coaches in not very good condition, and I cut the couplings off the various bogies. Now, so that's what I've done with the couplings. The reason for that being is that they are much easier to couple and uncouple. So normally, if you can get your heights right, they will just bash on. I've got to fiddle with these. If the height's wrong, there you go. If the height's right, they just couple. And then what I've done on the locos is I've put the spike uncouplers that come on some of the HO stuff so they don't have the hooks. But it does mean that you can uncouple quite easily, because obviously if I'm going to shunt, I want to be able to uncouple. And they're quite easy. You just get your bent coupling hook again. Works better actually when they're on a straight. Let's get them on a straight. And you can basically just get your little hook in there and lift them both up just using a hook, and they uncouple. So that brings us quite neatly to wagons. So say 40 or 50 quid new. You will see these, which are the Lima ones, people asking as much money for. I have paid between £5 and £10 for all of these, mostly by buying job lots. And I think when they're weathered, they come up quite nicely. Excuse the lighting up here, it's not very good. I've got to do something about that. Made a tarpaulin cover for that one. I've got a range of them here. A long while ago, I bought some boxes in O-Gauge by mistake, but of course that's proved quite fortuitous because I've been able to make a load. And then Doug 3D printed me a load of fuel drums and painted up. They look quite good in there. So this will be freelance railway as always. I've got some of the longer wheelbase wagons. Now that was quite a nice one. It doesn't really show the weathering very well on here. I'm gonna have to get some better light. That comes up very nicely. And I particularly liked the bigger ferry vans. Again, black washed, dry brushed, and they come up really nicely. So unfortunately I'm struggling with the light a bit in here. The only problem is they get coupling lock on the bend, so I've got to work on the couplings. So the whole thing really is very much a work in progress. Now what about track, I hear you ask? Yeah, so this is old Lima track. Manual points, mostly brass, but the Pico pack is very nearly £200 for 2 points and the track to do an inglenook. I paid 110 for 4 points and twice as much track, and what I've actually got is a 3-line inglenook, my 2 points, a curve through there, and then another point and a 2-road fiddle yard for basically half the price of what it would have cost me for half as much track. So it's almost 25% of the price. So yes, it's not the world's greatest track. As you've just seen in the videos, it'll need a good clean. The points are manual, and I'll have to live with the fact that I've got a big manual, and they don't insulate. But again, I'm not too worried, as I'm not planning on running more than one loco at a time. See if we can get this on again. Get this running in. Change points, yeah. Yeah, so runs in quite nicely. So for a lot less than I thought, because the wagons really have cost me hardly any money at all. Actually stuffed in the yellow box there are 4 more wagons that cost me £8 each as part of a job lot. And I also managed to pick up 2 of these, which are some rather nice Continental coaches. They've been repainted and played with, and they cost me about £15 each. I've got to change the couplings. I've got to repaint them and things, but that'll give me a couple of coaches should I need them. And I've got about 10 wagons. So I've managed to overcome the 3 problems. I've managed to pick up rolling stock for a quarter of the price, locos for, well, you know, a fraction of the price, £35 instead of 200. And I've managed to pick up the track at effectively a quarter of the price. So it's going to be quite an experiment. It's going to be quite an adventure, this, because nothing quite works properly. The couplings need some playing with. The locos need some playing with and some painting. The wagons have come up nice, but they need a bit of work. The longer ones, the shorter ones are okay. And the track is going to be interesting. Where I've fixed it down, it's warped in a couple of places because the track screws that I've used are too big. They've bent the sleepers. So I've got a bit of irregularity, which is why the locos are a bit hit and miss. So it's going to be a lot of fun trying to get it to work. They need more power, more weight really, that one at least. but I like diesel shunters, so you know I'm quite happy. So it's not going to be a short project. The loft, as many of you will know, despite being insulated underneath, it's not insulated anywhere else. Like all lofts, it's too cold in the winter and far too hot in the summer, even though I've got a dormer window. So this is only going to be a project I can get to very occasionally. But that was my thought. Now, the one thing I haven't been able to overcome is the space required for O. This bit is 8 foot long, and that bit is effectively another 7 or 8 feet long. So it's about 16 feet in length. I worked out that to do it, the minimum I'd need is about 9-10 foot to do the inglenook straight. Originally, the idea was to do a shunting inglenook that I could take to exhibitions to show people that you could have fun very cheaply with O. Now, that's not necessarily off the cards. If I don't think I'm going to get on up here, I may well lift the track and make a 1 or 2 piece inglenook siding in O, because I would quite like to take this to exhibitions to show a budget O gauge. There's all sorts of plans around the shed. It's falling apart, so we need a new one. It's probably going to end up to be N, not double O, but it would give me possibly somewhere to store an O gauge layout. So at the moment, the jury's out as to whether I persevere up here or whether I bide my time and put it in a new shed in the autumn. It's not cost me a lot of money to get this far, relatively. I've really enjoyed painting and weathering the wagons. That's been really good fun, even just as a modelling project. Particularly liked, as I said, the ferry vans, black wash, dry brush. They've come up really nicely, and the couplings have worked well. So we will see. You might find in 6 months' time that this has had a bit of progress, or you might find I'm waiting to get into the new shed. Why am I persevering even when it's unlikely I'm going to do anything for a couple of years on it? Because although I love N, and I've really picked up on N, these things, I've got arthritis in my fingers. Fortunately not rheumatoid, but it is not going to get any better. And at some point I'm going to lose, I've already lose fine motor skills in the tips of my fingers. And although the eyesight's okay, I only need glasses for reading. I don't know where that might be in 20 years. So this is an insurance project, policy. This is, if I really find I can't do N, could I do O? And that's why I really spent a little bit of money and bought this stuff while it was cheap. So it's all here, it can go in a box or it can live up here. And when the time comes, I've got O. So there you go. I think we've done all sorts of things now. We've done N. We did HOE once, 009, HO, 00. No plans for TT at the moment. But I did want to show that you can do, with a bit of shopping around and a bit of patience, O gauge on a budget. You can't solve the space problem though. So as always, be really interested to know what people think. It won't be for everyone. It's very budget. I accept that. Very budget and very freelance. But I thought, having given N a bit of a shout, I'd give O a bit of a shout. So really interested to know what your views are on this. As I say, don't expect any progress. Don't expect another video on this anytime soon. I've got about as far as I'm going to get for a little while. And I need to get on. I've got 2 N gauge and a 00 layout to work on. We will see. But anyway, thank you as always for watching, and I'll be very interested to see your views.